following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
To scratch and major itch. So enjoy your fruity pebbles, you yabba dabba bitch.
They've killed him! I'm CM Punk, and I am the voice of the voiceless.
Be the man. You gotta beat the man. Woo, woo, woo. You know it. I got okey doke by the
Live from the Pro Wrestling Report studios in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This is Monday Night Meltdown with your hosts, Damian Nelson and David Hero.
I'm proud to say we're doing things the Vince McMahon way.
That's the bottom line. What? Cause Stone Cold said so.
Bringing you all the latest news and views from professional wrestling. Monday Night Meltdown is on the air.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report. Monday Night Meltdown. Damian Nelson coming here along with Matthew Thomas and David Octavius and Tiberius, the alleged backyard one-time Hall of Famer Hero. We're live on Monday, November 5, 2012, coming off the heels of WWE Raw, coming to us from across the pond. I want to welcome you for joining us wherever you may be around this beautiful world. And let's get right at talking about tonight's WWE Raw. 3 hours of glory again on a Monday night on the USA Network from WWE, which featured a familiar open, Miz quitting Team Punk and Wade Barrett taking his spot, even though ultimately it would not matter as that match was substantially changed, sorta. We find out that Fandango is coming and an unlikely tag team headlines Raw, leading to the WWE Champion getting pinned 1, 2, 3 in a tag team matchup. We're going to be taking your phone calls here on the show. The number 877-317-9772. Again, that's 877-317-9772. We're also asking you to take a look at us on Twitter. At PWR Show is our handle on Twitter. At PWR Show is our handle on Twitter. And in just a few moments, actually just now, 2 tweets went out. One asking you to retweet if you thought Raw deserved a passing grade tonight. Another asking you to retweet if you thought Raw deserved a failing grade tonight. See if that trend over the last few weeks can be reversed. The polling, if you will, as we head into Election Day tomorrow, has shown that Raw has had some challenges over the last couple of weeks. Let's see what tonight's results bring. David and Matthew, tonight ended with a tag team mega matchup. Dolph Ziggler and CM Punk teaming up to take on John Cena and Ryback. Ryback would get the pinfall victory over CM Punk after the WWE Champion, or former WWE Champion, John Cena, did most of the work. Ryback still being presented as very strong. David, your thoughts on this main event matchup?
You know, it's a great way of setting the groundwork for the eventual John Cena-Ryback match. I mean, it reminds me, taking me back to 1990, when it was Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior against Mr. Perfect and the Genius. Same kind of setup. I think it's going to be the same kind of storyline eventually, where Cena and Ryback are going to have to go head-to-head eventually.
Well, we would find out tonight that John Cena and Ryback will be involved in a high-profile matchup at the Survivor Series. As a matter of fact, the Team Punk versus Team Foley matchup has been substantially changed just 1 week later, as now Dolph Ziggler will be replacing CM Punk, creating Team Ziggler with, I guess, Wade Barrett, Cody Rhodes, and Damian Sandow, and Alberto Del Rio. Just trying to keep it straight here, folks, because a lot happened tonight. Versus Team Foley, where Ryback, I don't think, was replaced tonight, but clearly not in that matchup because it's a three-way dance at the Survivor Series now. Ryback versus Cena versus Punk for the WWE Championship, and how we got there was very interesting, a segment that I actually enjoyed, and that was Brad Maddox. He came out and explained himself and said nobody made him do it. It wasn't Punk. It wasn't Heyman. It was him. As a matter of fact, his quote was, "That was all me." This brought out the WWE chairman, Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon saying to Maddox that he was lying through his teeth, which then brought out Vicky Guerrero just after Vince McMahon said, all right, Brad, if you want a contract, if you want a WWE superstar contract, you got to get through Ryback next week, and you will earn a $1 million contract. A lot happening in that segment, folks, so try to keep up here, especially in the chat room here on Blog Talk Radio. We see a lot of you discussing this very feverishly. Vicky would then be coached into changing the main event matchup from Team Punk versus Team Foley to the three-way main event, Punk, Ryback, Cena, for the WWE Championship. Matthew, this was a bit of a mangled mess, and it was difficult to follow at times, but a really surprising change just 1 week removed from WWE bringing back Mick Foley and making this huge team versus team matchup at the Survivor Series.
Yeah, it was a bit of a funny way to get there, but I think coming out it was definitely a change for the better. Going into Raw tonight, the big glaring hole for me was the fact that Survivor Series really did not seem to have a level of importance. It's one of the big four, and to not have a WWE title match on the card seemed a bit odd. And not only that, but the traditional Survivor Series match that was announced last week, it really wasn't a huge stipulation or anything involved that really gave it any level of importance. So the announcement that the WWE title would be defended at Survivor Series tonight, I think really went a long way toward at least making me look more forward to Survivor Series.
Yeah, definitely a different main event on the top of the card. Now you've got something that means something on the line. As you said, no stipulation in that Team Punk versus Team Foley matchup. Maybe it did fall a little bit flat. Maybe WWE did realize that. But there's so many shenanigans surrounding this matchup that has been made that anything could happen next Sunday on the Survivor Series on pay-per-view from Indianapolis. David Hero, a very significant change in course, a change in direction. I mean, I haven't seen this since one of the candidates did that back during the first debate. This was substantial tonight.
You know what? But it is substantial, and it's huge, and it's definitely interesting. But I think they're also risking the character development of Ryback, because now it's in a three-way match. It's not always going to be three guys in the ring. Someone's going to get bumped out, and Ryback is going to be in the ring now with the two guys that feel that their top spot is being threatened. Not with in-ring talent, but with as far as being over as a top star. I mean, let's face it, Ryback is getting a tremendous crowd reaction. And it's interesting to see how Punk and Cena will do business with him, and with Punk and Cena being number 1A and 1B as far as the top guys in the company, and now you got Ryback, fighting at their heels. Do they do business? Do they help elevate Ryback? Or do they try to expose him and make it more about Punk versus Cena than it is Ryback versus Punk versus Cena? So it's kind of a slippery slope, as they would say.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not convinced this is the best match for Ryback. It's a great way to hide what he can't do in the ring, but I think that Cena and Punk, their abilities will overshadow him, which will then expose him to be not as polished as those two are. So, and then of course you know my thoughts on the Survivor Series match. I mean that's just something that you're just throwing in there for whatever. It's just to keep those guys busy, especially now that they've changed the two captains where Ryback and Punk are both out, and Miz quit the team. Why would anybody want to be involved in that? But now Miz could be the captain of that team because now Punk's out of the match.
Ooh, yeah, they need a captain. It was sort of weird, though, because Raw opened with footage from, quote-unquote, earlier today where Miz took himself off the team because he didn't agree with Punk, I guess, and says the captain...
No. You know what? Say it for what it is. Your boy, The Miz, is a quitter. He quit his team.
I'm sorry, what did you say? My headphones went out. I didn't hear you.
No, you heard me. You heard me just fine. Your boy quit on his team. Mm-hmm. And I mean, let's face it. They only have the main event set. And you know what? I bet you. Oh no. Yeah, Miz could be the captain. That would make sense. No, he can't be the captain because Dolph Ziggler is the captain. Boy, where is Miz going to fit in here? They've already.
He's out of the match. He's out of the match.
He is out of the match because Wade Barrett took his spot, and now you got Dolph Ziggler as the captain. Boy, who knows where the Miz is going to wind up? But other than the three-way, the only match that's really set in stone is Big Show versus Sheamus right now.
Yeah, true. and we're some 2 weeks out from the Survivor Series. You know what? We talked about Raw having a familiar open tonight. You know, it's interesting, and David, you and I spoke during Raw tonight. I watched SmackDown last Friday night, parts of it at least, and the beginning of it, I'm like, oh, did I push the wrong button on the DVR because this felt a little familiar, not from WWE familiarity. And then tonight on Raw, we saw a similar thing at the very beginning of the program with the introduction of what would happen tonight and what happened last week. Now, Matthew, you are the co-host of Sudden Impact Radio on Thursday nights, where we talk about Impact Wrestling, where a lot of people, especially those on Twitter and in the chat room here on Blog Talk Radio, have compared the style of the Open, the WWE programming over the last couple of days, to, well, the beginning of Impact Wrestling over the last few weeks. And I guess the question is, as a frequent viewer of Impact, and of course SmackDown and Raw as well, is that a fair thing to say? We talked on Primetime last week about some TNA talents, namely Kurt Angle, alleging that WWE is stealing ideas from TNA. Is there a way out of this when being called theft?
It was the very first thing that crossed my mind when I saw the Open tonight. It's very reminiscent of the previously on Impact recaps that they've been doing for quite a while. And, of course, the whole AJ elevator security camera footage storyline has drawn the parallels, and that was even directly referenced last week on Impact by AJ Styles. So you got to wonder, theft, or is it them just taking a few shots here and there? Because as you made mention of Angle's comments on Twitter, you know, there has been that little bit of back and forth. So, yeah, that was the first thing that crossed my mind when I saw the intro tonight, is this WWE conveniently just, not theft per se, but conveniently taking a little jab at TNA. Definitely strong parallels there, no question.
David, it almost sounded like the same exact voice even. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, believe you me. But, well, it's walking like a duck.
Oh, it is, and it's just amazing. I mean, is it that they don't really pay attention to TNA? Which I can't believe to be true, because they pay attention to everything. I mean, they have people in those offices, you know, in the corporate offices that watch everything all the time. But, boy, I mean, it just doesn't seem like something that Vince McMahon would ever agree to do, to acknowledge the competition the way they have been with the AJ Cena story and now the recap of Raw. But, you know, in those offices, they're the only ones that matter, and that's how they've always acted, you know, going forward and whatnot. And maybe it's just their arrogance that they figured no one else will notice.
That's what it is. It's the arrogance. It's nobody watches that anyways, and blah, blah, blah. Now, let's be fair here. They may have just stumbled and done this on their own, and maybe there is no deliberate theft here, but, wow. Regardless, I like it on Impact, and I like it on Raw, and I like it on SmackDown. Give me a summary of what I'm about to get and what I didn't get last week or did get last week before I embark on this 3-hour tour that is Raw every Monday night. And
Damien, you know why they did this, right? Why they have the recap? Because ratings have been down the last few weeks, and they probably figured, hey, the people that didn't watch last week, we better, you know, bring them up to speed as to what's going on.
Yeah. And that they definitely did. They also brought us up to speed on the latest in the drama between AJ Lee, John Cena, and even Vicky Guerrero. Brand new footage released by Vicky Guerrero showing John Cena walking out of his hotel room briefly, and AJ going into a hotel room. And I guess if you Oliver Stone the clips, you can say that AJ was in John's room. And now the only thing I didn't notice that AJ was missing, which would have made me believe this completely, she didn't have a duffel bag with her, David. And if she did, there would have been no doubt. But this story continues. John Cena mired in controversy. AJ not appearing because she just wanted to attack Vicky. What's the end game here?
You know what I think the end game could be? It could be that Punk and AJ and Brad Maddox are all in cahoots. Because let's not forget, Vicky brought Brad Maddox in, right? And she would be seen backstage with him once in a while, and maybe it's just their way of all of them ganging up on John Cena at once.
Gangnam style?
I mean, it could be gang something style. I don't know, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, who knows? I mean, they can go in so many different directions with this right now, but you got to figure it's all going to backfire on John Cena. It usually does whenever there's a woman involved. I mean, But if you look at the long list of divas and knockouts in wrestling, whenever there's shenanigans, if you go back to Eve, and you go back to Vicky and Lita, whenever one of those divas get involved in something, it never ends well for one of the superstars.
Very, very true. It does not. And what did end well tonight was a lot of tremendous wrestling on Raw, which we typically get when they go out overseas. And we saw Sin Cara, R-Truth, and Rey Mysterio team up to beat the Primetime Players Primetime Players in a six-man tag team matchup tonight. Solid showing for them. But the most important match of the night, obviously, was Cody Rhodes' decisive victory over Daniel Bryan. I mean, he destroyed Daniel Bryan tonight, absolutely annihilated him in quick fashion. Matthew, was that not a tremendous match?
Yeah, it was pretty entertaining there. It was what struck me though. It was kind of the same formula that we got. I guess it was last Friday on SmackDown, where we have the two guys doing a singles match, and then right after that, we ultimately have the two other tag team guys in there with an impromptu match. So a little bit of repetition there from what we've seen recently. But anytime you can see Daniel Bryan and Cody Rhodes in the ring, it's a good time. And Daniel Bryan, how over that guy is, I mean, just it was exemplified by that crowd tonight.
I think what happened was there's a language barrier thing or an accent barrier. What you misheard was you thought they were chanting for Daniel Bryan, but clearly, beyond a shadow of doubt, they were shouting and chanting for Cody Rhodes. I mean, come on.
Is that what it was? Okay.
That's exactly what it was. I mean, I heard it with my own two ears.
It is a different country, so I can.
David Hero, a tremendous wrestling matchup between Miz and Sheamus, which will be one of two great matchups we got tonight. The other being Alberto Del Rio versus Kofi Kingston. Again, great wrestling from four talented individuals.
You know what? Kofi Kingston, he is just consistent. But I don't think there's anyone as consistent as Alberto Del Rio. They put him in matches where he has to be the strong heel, the ring general. And every week he may not win. He may not be open with the audience. People may think that his time has come and gone. But he is a dependable heel. I tweeted earlier that he reminds me of The Rock Don Morocco back when he was with Mr. Fuji. They would put Don Morocco in programs for the Intercontinental title with Tito Santana, the World title with Hulk Hogan, and he was just dependable. He was guaranteed to get heat, and that's exactly what ADR does week in and week out on both the Raw and SmackDown brand.
That match, of course, interrupted by Randy Orton. Randy Orton coming out to a tremendous ovation on Raw. We also saw the Divas mix it up tonight. Eve teaming with Oksana to take on Layla and Caitlin. Layla and Caitlin getting the victory in that matchup. Team Cobra defeat the team of the Colognes, Primo and Epico, in a tag team matchup, and more tag team action as Team 3MB, the three-man band, went up against the Usos. Heath Slater, of course, as he is endorsed, got the pin in that matchup, and 3MB defeating the Usos. Another quick matchup featured Wade Barrett in his home country versus Brodus Clay. Brodus Clay, who's back, and I was a little, surprised because we found out tonight that, apparently another dancing fool is going to be in WWE soon by the name of Fandango. Sounds like some Disney movie coming out soon. Another debut coming up. Yan Can Cook?
It could be, or or Wu-Tang Clan. I don't know. It's something like that.
That was tonight's WWE Raw, ladies and gentlemen. We're very interested to hear your thoughts on whether or not tonight's show was a pass or fail. Head to our Twitter page, at PWR Show on Twitter, twitter.com/PWR Show, and let us know. Retweet our tweet. Pass or fail for tonight's WWE Raw. Let's see if Raw can get a higher score than last week's 27% passing grade that it got. And we'll have the results for you at the end of this very broadcast. We're going to take a quick time out. When we come back, we're going to go to the phone zone, hear more from you about whether or not you thought Raw was a pass or fail, and then we'll bring you our final thoughts. This is the Pro Wrestling Report Monday Night Meltdown. We're live on Blog Talk Radio on Monday, November 5th. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report here live on Blog Talk Radio, Monday, November 5th, 2012. Damian Nelson here alongside David Hero. I thank Matthew Thomas for joining us for the first segment. David, I was talking to Linda during the break, and we've got a marketing opportunity we've got to capitalize on. These duffel bags of doom, she's ready to come in and do an infomercial, with the mirror over the table, like back in home economics and all that stuff, so she can show you how to properly craft a duffel bag of doom. I'm looking forward to it.
That is fantastic. I am all about that. Abso-freaking-lutely.
Well, it's time to go to the phone zone, ladies and gentlemen, where we take your calls. We look for somebody who thought Raw was a pass and somebody who thought Raw was a fail. Let's start with, you want to start with pass or fail this week, David Hero? I don't want to sound biased or skewing the electoral, if you will.
You know what? Let's get the bad news first, and then we'll always end with the good news.
Oh, okay. Because the bad news makes the good news that much better.
Absolutely.
We're going to go for a fail here. Let's go down to Houston, Texas. Let's talk to KV out in Houston, Texas, who thought tonight's Raw was a fail. KV, you're live.
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
Tremendous.
Good. Personally, I think Raw was a fail simply because, you're building towards Survivor Series, which we all know is probably one of the biggest pay-per-views they have of the year. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
It's one of the big four.
And we all know Sheamus and Big Show, that's set in stone. We all know that. The classic Survivor Series match, there's no intrigue in it to me. There's nothing to really get excited about. As far as the triple threat match between Punk, Ryback, and Cena, we all know what's going to happen. Punk is going to somehow retain the championship. They're going to build towards Royal Rumble when he has to go against The Rock. I personally think what's going to happen is Cena's Punk's going to drop the title to The Rock at Royal Rumble. It's going to build towards Rock Cena 2 at WrestleMania. That's all it is to me. I just think Raw was an epic fail. I like what they're doing with Ryback. I like that because I like seeing somebody else in the main event spotlight for once. But to me, Raw was there's nothing to get excited about for 3 hours. Me personally, I was switching between that and watching Monday Night Football.
Well, thank you so much for that call, KB, out in Houston. Some interesting scenarios and interesting analysis, which is why you thought Raw was a fail tonight. 3 hours is definitely a long time. However, though, David, and this is going to spur a lot more discussion that we're going to have tonight on this show at the time we have available, Nitro was 3 hours for a very long time, and while many say that might have been the demise of that program, you never heard anybody say it was too long or too much or too boring. And you hear that sometimes when people talk about WWE Raw. Let's go now to...
That's the problem with Raw. When Nitro had 3 hours, they had talent that could sustain the 3 hours. Of course, the first 45 minutes may have been all the luchadors and whatnot, but at least that was something new and different that the fans hadn't seen before. And you had, the NWO and Hogan and Savage and DDP and all those other guys on there that, each segment had main event caliber talent. Right now, Raw does not have that.
Let's go to someone who thought Raw deserved a passing grade tonight, and he's from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Kenneth, you're live here on the Pro Wrestling Report.
Hey, guys. What's good, Damien?
Hey, Ken. Not much. It's a beautiful night.
I have a question, but I think Raw was like a little bit of a fail. I have one question. Where does The Miz goes from here since he's off the team? Should he be in a three-way with Big Show and Sheamus, or where should he go?
Yeah, that's a good question, Kenneth. And I don't know at this time. Obviously The Miz on the pay-per-view poster, and I'm not sure how much that really matters nowadays. But I don't know where Miz goes. Is he going to try to get his Intercontinental Championship back, or is he going to go for something bigger and heavier? I don't know. I really don't know where The Miz goes in the short term. In the long term, obviously, he's got another WWE Championship reign in his future, but I don't know how we're going to get there.
And my next question is this, what do you think of Randy Orton might turn heel around a Survivor Series?
Well, Kenneth, and thank you for that call. Kenneth, if you got a chance to take a look at the Pro Wrestling Report primetime television last Saturday night, we talked about a scenario that could develop with Randy Orton, and if he were to go heel, and how it might be perfectly executed at the Survivor Series. However, two key players are no longer part of that scenario, and David, two of those key players we talked about was Orton aligning himself with Punk and Heyman, which would be great if all of a sudden Randy Orton somehow or another became a Paul Heyman guy.
Well, absolutely.
Like that
but right now, the whole Survivor Series is thrown up in the air. I mean, thank God they still got a couple weeks to figure everything out and sort out what they want to do, and I'm sure more things will come to light during SmackDown this week.
Absolutely, it will. And, there's some speculation going on out there, especially on our Twitter account at PWR Show on Twitter, including some people who are in the chat room here on Blog Talk Radio. Speculation as to who Fandango is going to be. I don't even know if I care who it's going to be. I just want to see what they're going to do with the character.
Well, it's going to be interesting.
Maybe it's Brodus Clay's little brother. Brodus Clay's little brother? They could have like a Dancing with the Stars on Raw? Bring Jericho back, maybe?
It could be. I mean, it's definitely a Dancing with the Stars type of character. And, boy, I hope that they give this person a little bit of a push if they're going to give him a few vignettes and not just do what they've done with Brodus Clay and with Lord Tensai, is have the vignettes only just to bury the guy.
Well, coming up this Saturday on the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime Television, TNA's got a pay-per-view this weekend, David Hero, TNA Turning Point from Orlando, Florida. I'm actually going to be in the Impact Zone for that pay-per-view event on Sunday night, and we're going to be bringing you Be the Booker this Saturday night on primetime. So be sure to tune in for that. You can watch it on My24 Milwaukee, obviously, and all over the world on YouTube and at PWRshow.com. Final thoughts now, David, on Raw tonight, including the results of our poll on Twitter, at PWR Show on Twitter, whether or not people thought Raw was a pass or a fail. But before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit more about Brad Maddox, because we're going to talk about him more on primetime this Saturday night as well. Was there any... Well, here's what was interesting about what he said tonight, about going through developmental and being pushed out and not being told he'd never get a contract and doing it for himself. While that may have fallen a little flat, the reasoning behind what he did and why he did it, because a lot of people want a conspiracy, I liked what he said, David. It was believable. Obviously it's a storyline, but he truly was from developmental.
Well, and you know what? Yeah, he is from developmental, and yes, he was on the Indies, and yes, I'm sure he paid $2,000, to be, at some type of camp. But, I mean, you're there. So what can you really complain about? You know what I'm saying? It's like you still got there. And the one thing I didn't like is when he said he wasn't special. He didn't say that, verbatim.
He didn't say he wasn't. You're right.
But he just said he wasn't doing flips. He wasn't a giant. He wasn't a monster. Okay, well, then why would they want to sign you? If you can't find something special in your character, then, I've been in the meetings where they've gotten tapes or DVDs or YouTube links or whatever, and they're like, well, this guy has this guy does not have this. They want to see something different, something special, and yeah, they may tweak it down the road, but come on. You know what, if anything, I think that as much as some people liked that segment, and they said, indie workers all around the world are probably applauding. That could be so, but I can't imagine any indie worker that would go up to Vince McMahon and say, yeah, I'm not a giant, I'm not a monster, I can't do flips, I'm just an average guy, but I think you should hire me.
But your argument for the last several weeks has been the stars in WWE are nothing but average guys.
Well, yeah, some of the guys have that it quality, but more so than not.
Like The Miz, like Cody Rhodes, like CM Punk. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They absolutely do. I understand what you're saying now.
Well, I'm glad you do. Hey, you know what's interesting is we've been getting a few tweets here about Fandango, and apparently this isn't a spoiler because...
Don't you dare say the name.
What?
You're not going to say the name, are you?
You don't want me to say who it is?
Why would you do that? Some people want to... What does it matter who it is? It's a new character. It's like when the fake Razor Ramon came out. I was ready to get behind him. I was ready to endorse and support him as the new Razor Ramon.
Let's just say that the Fandango character is a good close personal friend of Linda Kay's. That's all I'm going to say.
Fandango. I can hear it now.
Mm-hmm.
Today is November 5th, and tomorrow is November 6th, and it's Election Day in America, and without all the partisan bickering that's been going on. Just want to make sure everybody remembers that each of you tomorrow has a chance to, basically shape the future of our country. Head to the polls, vote. It's a responsibility you shouldn't take lightly, and recall that your vote's going to determine who's going to lead this country for the next 4 years and ultimately decide the direction for all of us. We're not asking you to vote for one candidate over the other, unless, of course, you write in Hero or Nelson, but we are asking you to vote based on the facts while ignoring the attacks, lies, and everything else spread during the campaigns. Do your own research, vote for the candidate that you think is best to lead our country forward, and a failure to vote is a failure to let your voice be heard. Never be afraid of that responsibility to vote. Never think that your vote does not matter, and every vote counts, and every voice should and will be heard tomorrow. Join all of us from PWR in doing the right thing by voting tomorrow, November 6th, and in an election this close, don't make not voting something you will regret. And with that, let's go to our own poll and voting results from tonight. David Hero, we're looking at who or what rating people would like to give WWE Raw, pass or fail, and the tide has turned. Coming off of a 27%, I guess, approval rating for Raw last week. We're at a 65% of our followers on Twitter saying Raw deserved a passing grade tonight, and only 35% saying it deserved a failing grade. Now, I wonder how much the crowd had to do with that, because they were white hot tonight until I was done with that crowd, by the way, when they started chanting "what" during the Maddox segment, because I'm so sick of what. Did the crowd have more to do with that? Did the crowd have more to do with that than the actual stuff that happened tonight on Raw?
Let me tell you one thing. They could have terrible wrestling. It could be the absolute drizzlings in that ring, but if the crowd is hot, it makes the entire show better. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, that crowd was into it for most of the night. They kind of got a little bit tired out when it was ADR and Kofi, and of course when the girls were in there. But what I thought was funny about the girls' match is all the cat calls, all the whistles. That was freaking hilarious. Hey, but Damien, how do you think SmackDown is going to do tomorrow when it's live on election night in this country? Head to head with the presidential.
I will tell you this. I am a political junkie, in case you don't know. I know you know, David. Tomorrow is like my Super Bowl. I ain't watching SmackDown. I have absolutely no desire to watch SmackDown. It's an important thing happening tomorrow, no matter who you're supporting. It's just fun to watch. It's just like watching a big game. It's game day. It's years upon years of work going into seeing what the American people have decided to do. I think SmackDown's going to be challenged tomorrow with that, especially since it's going to re-air on Friday, and most people are in the habit of watching it on Friday anyway. So these live SmackDowns have not been huge ratings successes in the past. So I think it's we'll see what happens tomorrow night. I mean, I don't, of course, wish that it does not go well for WWE, but I think people are going to have some other obligations as far as their brains and their viewing goes.
Do you think that's the arrogance again? Where they feel, hey, we'll just go up against the election?
I wouldn't say that, because as we know, Vince McMahon and Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, the entire McMahon family, has a vested interest in this election tomorrow night, as Linda McMahon is going to find out whether or not her second opportunity to be a senator from the state of Connecticut will pan out her way or not. So I think
she has 100 million reasons why it better pan out.
That she does. Well, it sounds like you would give Raw a pass tonight, David Hero, unless I'm putting words in your mouth.
No, I mean, yeah, it was passable, yes.
I would also give it, I thought it was long. This was one of the first weeks where it felt like 3 hours to me. Maybe I was otherwise detained with RealClearPolitics.com and CNN.com, but it just didn't. A lot happened tonight, but it just didn't capture me. It didn't captivate me. It didn't say, "Oh, this is cool. This is neat. I want to watch." It just
really, when all your guys were on there, The Miz was there, Cody was there, Punk was there, Eve was on.
Slater, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, all of your talent was there, bro.
They all delivered, and that was fine. I would give Raw a pass tonight, though, overall, because that's what this rating is about. It's about the overall score on Raw. I want to remind everyone as we close out this broadcast here tonight that we are live with you again here on the radio on Thursday nights with Meathead and Matthew talking about Impact. It's the go-home show leading into Turning Point this Sunday on pay-per-view. Solid episode of Impact last week, I thought. We'll see what they deliver this upcoming Thursday, and you can get all the results of that in a 1-hour-long post show for Impact Wrestling Thursday nights at 9 o'clock.
Damien, real quick, just so you know, I talked to the GLCW champion, Robbie E., and somehow you're on the list for the pay-per-view Sunday.
Somehow.
That's amazing.
You've seen what he's been wearing lately. He's about ready to dump the sweaters and go all Nelson family T-shirts.
Yeah. Well, amazing.
I'm looking forward to getting down to Orlando on Sunday, but David, there's a little secret. Right after prime time on Saturday, I'm flying down to the OBT, and I've got some plans on OBT Saturday night. That may not end well.
You down with OBT, huh?
Oh, you know me.
Make sure you got some bail money, bro.
We'll see you guys this weekend on Prime Time and Thursday night on Sunday Impact Radio. Thank you so much for the callers, and thank you for all of you who joined us in the chat room, and all of you who voted pass or fail for Raw tonight. For David Hero, for Matthew Thomas, for the man they call Meathead, this is Damian Nelson saying thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you again soon.